Well, everybody, as you're just starting to come in, we're glad that you're here with us for today's Lunch and Learn. Today is July 20th, and it's nearly noon, so that means that it's Lunch and Learn time on Wednesday. And today we've got Mack Kowalski up in the Kuker-Ranken, Seattle or Montlake Terrace location. Mack is very well known for his knowledge and his expertise in Reg 360 and in all of the Leica software products. And I'm going to just talk for just a second more as we let everybody else come in. Please open your chat window in your Zoom application. You'll find that right down at the bottom of the screen where your video and your microphone are. We'll be sending some important links through the chat, and you'll also get some information about upcoming Lunch and Learns in the chat. So you should be seeing a message in there from the Kuker-Ranken admin welcoming everybody to the show. So today we've got Mack giving a presentation on what's new in Cyclone Register 360. So with that, Mack, I'm going to turn it all over to you. Have a good one.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Douglas, and thank you everybody for taking your time out coming here. I'm going to throw a lot of information at you somewhat quickly. I'm going to try and get through all of it and then have time left over for some questions. Douglas or Jennifer, if you guys could let me know when there's 5 minutes left if I'm going long, so that way we can answer questions. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Maybe. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to leave this up for about 30 seconds here. If you scan that QR code right there, you can directly import all this information. Or if you want to save it like a caveman, go ahead and hand type it into your phone. On the left-hand side here, or on the right-hand side here, the handsome gentleman in the picture is Bruce with Leica Geosystems, and the guy in the hat is me. The two young ladies are actually my daughters, and yes, they are collecting data with the BLK ARC, and yes, they are better surveyors than most of us already. And it's not back up. We are gathered here today to see what the scanning gods have given to us mere mortals. On the left-hand side, you don't have to pay too much attention to it because we're going to see it slide by slide, is everything I'm going to go over. So the way I want to do this is I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll tell you why I'm excited about it. One of the coolest things I think is what you see on the right-hand side right now. And it's something they kind of snuck in, but something I really appreciate. On the top is what my taskbar used to look like. And if I was going to open a Cyclone product, I had about a 20% chance that I was going to get the right one. But what they've done is shown that they are listening to their customers. And those are the new icons that you see down below it and your taskbar. It is much easier, and I know exactly what product I'm opening, and it saves me just those few seconds every time, but I really do appreciate it. It's stuff like this and say the disto that they put in the total stations now that shows that they're really paying attention to what their customers are asking for. And that is something I really appreciate. Not a lot of corporations these days do that. All right, let's get right into it. Oh yeah. All right. So this wasn't on the list, but it is pretty cool. I am going to warn you that there is no one out there that's going to tell you the accuracy of the LiDAR from an iPhone 13 or your new Apple products. But if you have Field 360 and you are collecting data on a new iPad or iPhone, you can now add that data in to your current thing, and it will import as part of your data. You need to go slow. You need to be very deliberate. You need to know what you're doing. Just like any other device out there, you can either nail it, or if you don't know what you're doing, you can royally screw your data up. What we have at the top here is a gap filling. They scanned with an RTC, and then they filled in the gaps with the LiDAR from their iPhone. It's a pretty cool little feature. I would say that if you're doing a floor flatness test or something where absolute accuracy is absolutely necessary, I wouldn't take the risk personally. But if you just need to fill that data in to be able to build a model, go for it. The one down here is completely iPhone data. That is an option too. I did do this in my house and got really good results, but I mean, it took me way longer than it would with a BLK To Go. So it's good to know that's there. It's a tool to use if you need it, but don't rely on it for everything is my advice so far on it. All right, so we'll get to the actual list. So the BLK To Go auto target. If anybody here is using a BLK To Go, before this last release, it didn't have auto target, auto black and white target extraction. What I had to do was go in and use a virtual target. So I hate to use the word guess, but I would take an educated estimate of where the exact center of that was in the scan data. And it usually worked out pretty well. But now it uses the pictures and the scan data to run its algorithm and find the center of that black and white target, just like it does with just scan data for any other thing. They have a few things here listed to do, 1 to 2 meters recommended distance, stop for 1 or 2 seconds. What I like to do whenever I'm in front of a target with the BLK To Go is actually hit that button and take a picture. I'm not going to use that picture for anything, but it trains me to keep that there long enough that I know that it's going to be in the pictures, it's going to be in the scan data. I'm going to be able to use it. I've had really good success with that so far. You can see at the bottom there, it says targets need to appear on the images and the point cloud for it to work. But it's a great little feature. It saves you that extra couple of seconds. Everything is, those extra seconds will add up over the lifetime of a product. All right, pick snapping and export targets. These are two cool things. So you can trust the program to do what it needs to do. I guess I'm just not really that much of a trusting person. I always leave a couple of targets out of my ASCII to cross-check later on. So I will go back and either, well, I could never export before. I'll get into that in a second. But I would select the vertex that it creates on a target and compare it to what I had shot with my total station and see if I was getting the right coordinates, just to make sure. If you had it in your ASCII and imported as control, it could pull and manipulate. And I wanted to make sure that the ones I was using manipulated the rest of the data that wasn't part of that target, if that makes sense. But now I can export all of my targets, including the ones that that aren't on my ASCII, and put them and compare them against an actual ASCII of all of my targets. That is a great thing. Also, I don't have to, before you couldn't actually pick the vertex. So you had to get as close as you possibly could, kind of like you did with the BLK To Go targets. Now it actually snaps. And if you guys aren't familiar with the snapping tools, definitely play with them. They have the highest point, lowest point, ground point. Now they have vertex point. Snapping tools and scan data are a lifesaver. Right here, it'll always be XYZ. You can't change that yet. It might be in the future. I know when you used to import ASCIIs, you could only go label XYZ. Now you have the ability to change that. So that might be something they're going for. They're always open to hearing out what we have to offer as far as what we want to see. Image blur, not something I use a lot, something that people that are producing data for public use really do. Super easy to do. You just right click on your scan and go into show setup in cloud viewer, and then you have down at the bottom, but this, I'm sorry, I kind of screwed this slide up. There should be, oh yeah, right there, edit image blur. So when you're looking at the scan data, if you right click on it and hit edit image blur, what you're seeing here is two different versions of it. It's hard to tell. The automatic actually did all of these. Blurred everybody's name. If there was a license plate in it, it would have blurred the license plate. But also there's a secondary. If it misses something, you can select that little circle and it will blur out a face or whatever you decide to blur at that point. It's really great to do. I know there's a big concern for people, big secretive companies. If you're doing a scan at Boeing or something else, they might want you to blur certain things in your images. It's a cool tool. It's very targeted audience, but it's good to know it's there. Registration improvements. All right, so this is kind of a fun one. Let's see. Okay, so the way the story was told to us at Hexagon Live was that there was a customer who was scanning brand new cars with fresh wax jobs. He was getting bad results no matter how many times he tried to tie it together. The person who was running the algorithm for Register 360 didn't believe it until he got sent the data. And then from what I was told, he disappeared for about a month and came back with a brand new algorithm. What they're saying is, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, this came out a a few releases ago, you can up the iterations it will try to do its cloud to cloud. So, and if you're not aware, I believe 400 is where it was set stock. You can go up to 800. It increases the time of your import, but it also increases the chances of you getting a great point cloud together, bundled together. With this new algorithm, they are seeing that with 200 iterations, they are seeing better results than they were with 400, which is pretty amazing. You're cutting your import time in half. That's pretty good time savings when you're looking at, sometimes depending on the amount of scans, hours of import time. If you're a couple hundred scans, right? Cut that down to an hour. That's amazing. What else? Yeah, and so this works for both the visual alignment tool and the automatic cloud to cloud. So the algorithm works the same whether you're doing your optimize or on the initial import. This is a good one too. So has anybody ever, I know you guys can't answer, but if you've ever hit right click, show all suggested links, and 800 links show up, and some of them are across the job site, and you're like, there's no way those are going to tie together. You can change now the criteria that you will accept. So it won't show any links that are bigger than the error you're willing to accept. If you say, I don't want more than a 1/4 inch error in my scan data, it won't show you any links that are above that. You can say there's also a distance feature. I don't want it to go further. Or no, I'm sorry, not distance. I equate it to distance in my mind. A strength feature or an overlap. So if it does, minimum overlap, sorry. If they don't overlap each other a certain amount, like they're on opposite sides of the job and there's nothing to tie them together, you won't see those. It really minimizes the amount of potential bad links that it will try and do. It's a great thing, and it will do nothing but increase your accuracy. I remember when Register 360 was I don't want to say a little baby program, but in its infancy, I was told to not spiderweb because it would actually potentially pull your data further apart because it would try and link those scans from way far away, and it could do it. I've seen it happen. All right, reobservation with BLK To Go. I know BLK To Go is new and there's not a ton of people out there using it. What we have seen on occasion with the BLK To Go is that you do your walk out the door and around the building, and then you come back to set it down in the same spot. Well, something happened. Generally, what I've seen is someone goes through the door and they don't pause long enough, and it doesn't have enough to really tie that together. But it's still collecting data, and when it comes back and it does its trajectory again in the same spot, you'll see this wall going straight and this wall angling off because it lost its trajectory somewhere through there. This reobservation will run another algorithm, so to speak, and fix those misalignments. And they've been seeing, I forget the exact, in 80% of cases where it was misaligned before, it is now improved. That's a big change. They put a lot of work into the BLK To Go. That I'm constantly amazed by the quality of data I'm getting out of it now compared to the first time I ever touched it. It's becoming a very good tool to use, and they keep on pouring more effort into it like these. And this goes for the BLK To Go and the ARC, any of the autonomous collectors.
Hey, Mac, if I can cut in and interrupt real quickly here.
Yes, sir.
We have a question from one of the attendees asking, with pick points, you mentioned snapping to high, low, etc. Where is the option? I know that exists with 3DR, but I cannot find that option in Reg 360.
Let me get back to you on that. I didn't actually make a cut of that, but it's not in the pick point tools. It's actually, let me get back to you on that.
Thank you.
It's in the release notes, and I'll have to find exactly where that is. Yes, sorry about that.
Moving on.
All right, the advanced UCS. Any of the previous Cyclone users, and this is brought, one of my customers is very excited about this. He never sets up black and white targets but he has control on the ground, which most job sites especially have, a grid line intersection point and an elevation marked out in several places on the ground. He carries around a plywood box and he sets it on that. And what you could do in Cyclone Core was do a region grow, region grow, and region grow, and it would create a point at the vertex. And then he would add the northern easting and elevation to that and use it as control. That is something that you are now able to do in Register 360, which is awesome. They brought it in as a UCS tool. So you can, if you see there, you can apply a northern easting and elevation to where it will make that vertex. And a lot of people are using that to create a user coordinate system and just get their scan data nice and squared up to your job. But it does create a vertex, and you can label that, bring your control in, treat it as any other black and white target. If you're in a pinch in the field and you don't have any black and white targets and you need to do this, 2 pieces of wood nailed together will create that 90-degree, set it on the ground, and you have your 3 points that you can create a vertex from. I saw him do it with the corner of a building. So if you're scanning and you forgot to do control, you go out, you shoot the corner of a building on the ground, there you have control. It's a great little tool to add to your tool belt. So this will be under the advanced UCS tools in your toolbar up here. All right, apply control. Now we're getting further back into our data or into our releases. A lot of you guys probably already know this, but for those of you that don't, your apply control, you no longer have to label. If you have good geometry on the targets that you have in your scans and good geometry on your control file, your ASCII, you just right click on bundle, hit apply control, it will do a best fit. If it finds a good fit, it will ask you if you want to auto name every target in your bundle. If you hit yes, everything is auto labeled and everything is aligned. I've had great success with this as long as you have good control. You still want to do all the things that you did before, whereas you lock a bundle. Don't leave your links unlocked to where your control can pull those apart. I've seen some just actual disastrous things happen from that. And you never know if that guy that in the field shot you a 12-foot offset or something. But this is just a time saver because labeling, I've had a lot of screw ups from mislabeling targets. So just not have to do that is amazing. Import images later. All right. Why would I want to do this? Import time. Generally, if I go out and scan, especially a big one, and if any of you are police officers, I don't do this while I'm driving, but before I leave, I set my laptop up, start importing the scans. While I'm driving back to the office, it's importing. So if it's a smaller job, it's done by the time I get to the office. If it's a bigger one, I'm still waiting. Images take up more import time than almost any other part of the import process. So what they've allowed you to do is uncheck that import images, import your data, work with it, get it registered, get it ready to be delivered into whatever mode you want. And as long as your scan data is in the same part or same place you imported it from before, you can then right click. And I have a bar in my way from Zoom, but right down here, you can see it's highlighted, import images. You can import those images later, colorize your scan and export it then. So, before you leave for that day, if it's a couple hundred scans, you import those photos, you come back the next morning, your deliverables ready to go. Great tool. But I would also suggest to not leave it on USB. Before you import your data from an RTC or anything else, move it to your desktop, import it from there. And that way your scan data is definitely in the same spot it was before. And it has that pathway to follow to bring those points in. Also, you're going to get better import times if you move stuff to your desktop. It's a lot faster to import from your internal SSD than it is from a USB or a USB-C cable. Those are just a few of the tricks to increase your time. All right, there is. So this is something I learned just yesterday. Now, I don't know if you guys are like me. So if you buy a new vacuum cleaner, and your wife doesn't say, hey, here's the owner's manual, I know you're going to read it anyways, this doesn't affect you. But any program you download from Leica, if you go see programs, files, Leica Geosystems, whatever program it is, all the release notes from past releases are in there. It's a great tool to read through if you ever need to look up how to do a feature. Leica's release notes are incredibly in-depth, incredibly well written. A lot of work's been put into them. I read them every time a new product comes out, and that's how I get a lot of what I know. As a matter of fact, when people ask me, is there a course or something on scanning to take, I tell them typically no, but there's release notes. If you don't want to go to those and you're looking for something very specific, at the top of Register 360 is this little icon here, and that's going to take you to Register 360 help, and they have put a lot of effort into this too. And the way I did this slide cut off what I wanted to show. There's a whole list down here, but there's also a search bar over here. So if you're looking for, well, let's try it since we had the question. I'm going to go to the help, and let's go target vertex. Now, if this doesn't work, I'm sorry. There's auto black white. You can look up most things. Doesn't look like it's going to show. 44 more. So it's just, it's another resource.
So Mac, we're currently only seeing your PowerPoint, so
I'm sorry.
You're short there.
Yeah, that's one of these days I will figure out how to use this Zoom meeting stuff. How are we looking there?
Now we can see your Google search.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is exit this, and then I'll go back and do what I did just then. So, like I was saying, up here, hit that, pulls up, takes you right to the web. You have to be hooked up to the internet, but right at the very top, search bar, vertex snapping. How about that? Or was it snipping?
Yeah, we're seeing your UCS by pick.
Okay, so I will get back to you on that one. It didn't pop up, but it's a pretty powerful little tool when you're looking for something in Register 360 specific, or if you're stuck. Another option for if you need help is they like to give you these assistants over here. If you're not using those are great little tools. So whatever you're working on, let's try and switch. Review and optimize. It gives you tips and hits, videos, explains what everything is on this side. So if you're stuck somewhere, that's a great place to look. Yeah, so I think that was my whole PowerPoint. I kind of cruised through it. Do we have any questions?
We do, Mac. One of the questions is, does the advanced UCS retain the level of a data set, whereas the basic UCS relies only on a single setup's IMU level data? Basic UCS is potentially inducing error and pushing the data set out of level.
Okay, so yes, it will retain. So you're not changing the level of what the bundle is doing currently by doing that UCS. But if you did 2 of those UCSs and then applied control, that would level it out just like any other black and white target would do. I'm still under the, and I know that Register 360 now has the, I'm assuming that you're either using a BLK 360 or an RTC if you're worried about that. I know that there is advanced IMU settings in the Register 360 program and with the RTC 360. I'm still just in the habit now, since I've been using it since it came out, to just use targets all the time, and I don't ever have to worry about that. But there is options now. If you do that UCS in 3 spots, and you know the elevations for those, it will level any of your scan data out.
Okay, the next question we have, with importing images after the fact, if you initially imported images at low resolution, can you import images again first maxing out the image quality to 5K to get the full image resolution when time isn't a concern?
That is an amazing question, something I haven't tried yet. Can we get your email address and I will try that today, probably.
Eric, can you take that, tap that over to me, and I'll forward that to Mac.
That is a something I haven't tried, because I almost never import the full 5K photos. It's always 2K. I don't see why you can't. My only worry is that you will double layer the images on the scan data and you won't get that clarity you're asking for.
Okay. Next question is, during import of all the setups, is it averaging all the setups IMU level data, assuming all the setups are linked together? This person is using an RTC 360 with high tilt accuracy mode enabled.
So that is a good question. So if it is two scans together, it will collaborate those. But as the bundle, the way it used to work, and I might be misspeaking, and I am going to follow up on this question. The way it has traditionally worked is all of the other scans are leveled off of the first scan that it imports. So what they used to teach us to do was actually set a level on the tripod of the RTC for the first scan and just make sure that one was perfect. And then it would cloud to cloud all the other ones to that one. So what you would do is you would level the tripod and you would actually reset the IMU and the altimeter inside the machine and the settings menu. And then it would tie all of those ones to the ones that you know is good. They're no longer, I haven't heard them recommend that in a while. So I don't know if that's as big of a deal. Again, I would caution not using targets still. There could be people that disagree with me about that, but out of all of us that have been doing survey for a while rely on redundancy. And so that's just my double check that I'm good, because the last thing we're all scanning because we are saving time doing it. If we have to go revisit a site because we had a bad IMU or we didn't set up targets, the benefit's no longer there. All right. Anything else?
That's the last of our questions that have come in so far. Well, it looks like, hang on, one more just got typed in.
I have got to stop going through things so fast.
Yeah, you got all kinds of questions there for you, Mac. No, this was just a comment about how that you're doing a great job, and they really appreciate the lunch and learns. So thank you for the compliment.
Well, thank you guys for coming.
You, Mac.
And just also always remember, apples are okay, but a scan a day will keep the sadness away.
Well said and fun, Mac. We always enjoy your personality and your spirit. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of this particular Lunch and Learn. We're so glad that you came and spent a little bit of time with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. If you look in your chat box there, you can see our next setups here. So our next one is coming up on July 27th. And that's going to be myself and Brady Reich. We're going to be talking about the Leica BLK to fly. That's a really interesting LiDAR unit for very specific purposes. We'll have some data sets. Coming up on August 3rd, Rob Mitchell, a PLS at Kuker-Ranken, will be bringing us the Leica GS18I and workflows with that. On August 10th, we're right back with Mac again. And he'll be showing us Autodesk Revit to Leica Infinity to Captivate workflow. So that's one you definitely do not want to miss. Mac, you want to say anything to folk about that before we?
There's lots of ways to skin this cat that I'll be going over. This is the one that I found that worked the best for 4 different states for a company. And it was very streamlined, very simple. And I know it like the back of my hand, so I'll try and slow down for that one for sure.
All right. Then on August 24th, we've got an introduction of a brand new drone company, new drone product that's NATO compliant. So for those of you that are dealing with NDAA or Chinese equipment concerns, be it generally it's state, federal, but for anybody who has concerns about using Chinese equipment, we are going to be announcing and first look anywhere in the United States of this new product. So Brady and or at least I will be presenting that on August 24th. So again, thank you for being with us and being part of the Kuker-Ranken Lunch and Learns every Wednesday at noon. We bring you about 20 minutes of informational goodness. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, everyone, thank you very much. I'm Douglas Spotted Eagle. This is Mack Kowalski, and we both come from Kuker-Ranken. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon.